Now, Hungary warns Ukraine conflict creating shift in world order. Now, I mentioned in last week's show about Tony Blair saying there's going to be a new polar world in which the West is going to be losing power and the East and China are going to be gaining power. And of course, that was the plan all along, as I've been saying. And now here's the Hungarian Prime Minister, Viktor Orban, saying the same. The Russia-Ukraine conflict could end the West's dominance and shift the balance of power in the world. Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban has said, Russia launched a military campaign against the neighboring country in late February. Orban argued that the decision to impose sanctions on Moscow and supply Kiev with heavy weapons de facto turned the EU and NATO member states into participants in the conflict, but ultimately yielded no results. And he said the West should now focus on achieving peace through negotiations. And I've asked this question a number of times in the weeks and months past. Where is any effort to get people around a table from Ukraine and Russia to sort this out? Where are the efforts? No one's ever talking about it anymore. Why? Because they want it to go on and on and on, because it is creating circumstances that they actually want to happen, and some of which I've already talked about in terms of the effect on food, etc. With a massive amount of the global wheat production coming out of Ukraine and Russia. So Hungary has refused to send weapons to Ukraine, while Orban said this month that the EU shot itself in the lungs. Why in the lungs, I don't know, with its ill-considered sanctions. But you see, this is the point. You can call it ill-considered, you can call it incompetence, you can call it stupidity, and on one level it will be the underlings. But from the core that's driving all this, it's not stupidity. It's not a mistake, it's coldly calculated. And the sanctions on Russia were never targeting Russia. They were targeting the West, which the World Economic Forum, etc., wants to dismantle. And we're asked to believe in a Churchill-like, Washington-type leader of Ukraine, in this guy Zelensky, when he's just a cult-controlled, oligarch-controlled, World Economic Forum-controlled, corrupt, fascist moron who is quite happy for this to continue, and he's just meeting celebrities all the time. Oh, hello, Ben Stiller is his name, all this stuff. And his people are suffering, or the people he's supposed to represent are suffering. And the only way to stop them suffering is to come to some kind of agreement and peace deal. Doesn't want it, but he's still a hero. Saudi Crown Prince touches base with Putin after unproductive Biden visit. This is another psychopath called the Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. Serious psychopath, this guy, known as MBS. And he met with Biden. The Biden probably doesn't remember it now. It's a few days ago, after all. And then he had a long chat with Vladimir Putin to discuss stability in global oil markets. And of course, what they've done with the sanctions on Russia is they've now turned, and other things, the climate change decisions made not by Biden, but through Biden since he came to office, like stopping oil pipelines, etc., and drilling on federal land. They have turned America from a energy self-sufficient country into one seriously dependent on other countries, and therefore Biden goes cap in hand to Saudi Arabia saying, can we have a bit more? And of course, they don't want to give it to them because they want the situation that's happening to go on happening. Diesel prices continue to spike, harming truckers and farmers, exactly as planned. Putin turns the screws. Gazprom unexpectedly halts another Nord Stream turbine, cutting flows in half. European gas prices soar, exactly as planned. Back to the dark ages, ? Now millions of Britons could be told to switch off the lights and turn down the thermostat to avoid blackouts this winter under emergency plans, exactly as planned. Germans taking fewer showers in response to cost of living crisis following government advice. 62% of respondents to the poll said they had reduced their shower time and are showering less frequently compared with just a few weeks ago. Unsurprisingly, those in the lowest income group said they had changed their behavior more significantly than any other group because they're the ones primarily being targeted by this cult and what they call in America the middle class. The climate change transition to mass starvation and death, another article from this week. Speaking from Somerset, Massachusetts, the United Nations Agenda 2030 puppet, Joe Biden, signaled he would soon grant himself illegal climate change emergency powers that could bring a screeching halt to US exports of crude oil and eliminate offshore drilling, ushering in a very real possibility of converting military funding into the construction of renewable energy projects. And, you know, when you see what the agenda of this cult for the world is, and then you look at the solutions to COVID and the solutions to human-caused climate change, two hoaxes promoted by the same people, then you realize why they're doing what they're doing. It's giving them all that they want.